Literature lover. Today we are going to talk about plot. As we all know, it is the base of the story. So we can see the definition is here, talking about the major events, the arrangement of the event, the sequence which is there between the events is called the plot. Not talking about the elements, it can be the base, the basic elements, which are the talking about the complicated structure. These are the elements. Now, whenever we talk about the plot, the story, what first comes is what is the conflict behind it. So, the central struggle moves with the plot. The whole conflict revolves around the protagonist's struggle against fate, nature, society, or any other person. Different circumstances leading with different opposite elements within the protagonist. Next comes the rising of the action as the narrator moves on, building the momentum and later on reaches to the major conflict, or we can say the pinnacle. Next comes the climax, that is the highest point of tension where all kind of episodes or sometimes the anticlimax occurs and the things started to frustrate event non-event, all kinds of things. And anticlimax you can see in Jane Austen's novels. Example, Sense and Sensibility, it's a very good example. And next comes the fall of action, it's also called the renouncement. This is the later part of the narrative where the protagonist's response to the event or the climax introducing the rise of actions are resolved later on. Last comes the reversal. Sometimes it is in Greek called the peripeteia or the reversal, sudden shift of the fortunes, maybe good, maybe bad, or vice versa on the both perspective. And at the end comes the resolution. At the end, all the questions are answered, all the solutions are given, all the conflicts are resolved. But all these depend on the type of plot. Plot can vary with the sequence, the complexity, loose or chaos, all kinds of plot can be there. Now, first comes the chronological plot. This is a very basic plot because as it goes chronologically, starting with the very beginning and later on reaches to the end. That is the straightforward rise and fall of the actions, and the events are quite properly arranged. Example is Old Man and the Sea by Nobel laureate Ernest Hemingway. The story progresses right from the straight and later on ends. Next comes the archaeological, achronological plot. It means that the events are not arranged in sequence. For example, Homer's Iliad, they are filled with flashbacks, digressions. All these happen in between and afterward the central conflict of the poem. So it's called just the opposite of chronological plot. Another kind of plot comes is the climatic plot where there is only one single climax. Example here is given Agamemnon. It is a classic example of climatic plot where just one single climax is there. Another comes the episodic plot. Here the storyline is not important. The events are important. All the events are loosely connected. And no doubt, Don Quixote is the best example. It is one of the most popular books ever written. And episodes and are very important. All the connected events are loosely packed. Next comes the non-sequential plot. It's also called the anti-plot. Here the traditional logic is not applied. The sequence is not clear. The characters are without any clear motivation. So we can clearly get into conclusion it is called theater of the absurd, which we have discussed earlier also. It's another name of absurd. It's quite common in postmodern era. Next comes the subplot. It is another aspect of the plot, and we can see the subplot goes side by side with the main plot. And the best example is the story of Gloucester and his sons in Shakespeare's King Lear, as King Lear serves to be the main function of the plot, whereas the subplot is Gloucester. That's the whole summary of the plot. Share your opinion in the comment section. Discuss it with your friends. That's all for today. Thanks for listening.